Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Police Federation wins case against the Finance and National Security payments. Employees Federation concerned about market. And later in sports, Jamaica's Rothman Powell to miss ODI series in the Netherlands. I'm Shane Masters. Here are the details. A victory for the Police Federation in its case brought against the Finance and National Security Ministries. The Federation in its claim said rank-and-file members were owed some $40 billion for overtime work. Herman Green reports.
The government and the Police Federation have been at war for years over money owed for overtime, which led to the Federation taking the matter to the courts. Efforts to reach an out-of-court settlement collapsed late last year after the government reportedly offered a $10 billion package. The Police Federation filed a lawsuit in 2019 against the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of National Security, the Attorney General, and the Police Commissioner, complaining that its members had been working more than 40 hours per week without being paid. And after months, a decision in favor of the thousands of rank-and-file members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force.
It is declared that the heads of agreement entered into between the Jamaica Police Federation and the Ministries of National Security and Finance on behalf of the government of Jamaica on the 11th of September 2008 for the contract period 1st April 2008 to 31st March 2010, on the 10th November 2015 for the contract period 1st April 2015 to 31st March 2017, and on 14th December 2018 for the contract period 1st April 2017 to 31st March 2019 are binding on the government of Jamaica.
The court has also ordered the government to implement the overtime system, which was agreed to in the 2008 Heads of Agreement.
On or before the 31st of March 2023, put in place a system which is in accordance with the terms agreed in the Heads of Agreement aforesaid, and which will capture the actual hours worked by members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force in excess of 40 hours per week, and that the said members be thereafter remunerated accordingly for such excess hours.
Now, as it relates to claims of damages, Justice Batts pointed out that the Police Federation will not be granted such.
In this regard, we agree with the arguments of counsel for the defendants. The agreed 10-hour overtime payment, accepted until the system was put in place, represents agreed liquidated damages. The police officers agreed to accept payment for an additional 10 hours, regardless of the actual hours worked, because of the existing difficulties in measuring the actual hours worked. There is therefore no prospect of loss being established in consequence of the breach. By agreeing to accept payment for 10 additional hours, the claimants had in effect quantified their loss.
It's now left to see if the government will appeal the decision in the Supreme Court. Herman Green, TVJ News.
And the chairman of the Police Federation, Corporal Rowan James, says the decision of the full panel of the court is a step in the right direction. He was speaking with journalists outside the Supreme Court this morning.
It is long in coming, and this is one step closer to enforcing the fact that we have been working over a period of time without proper recognition in law, that we are workers with rights, and at this time it is also incumbent that we therefore move towards enforcing this aspect of the judgment with our Commissioner of Police, with the stipulation of a proper 40-hour work week mechanism going forward, and that we, the Ministry of National Security, and of course as a central committee, will be meeting to chart the way forward in respect of this judgment and aspect of it to be considered.
President of the Jamaica Employees Federation, David Wan, has raised concern about inefficiencies impacting the labor market. Speaking at the recent Western Region Labor Talks 2022 yesterday, Mr. Wan says a strategic plan is needed to improve efficiency and boost productivity. Sandra Williams reports.
Jamaica's labor force has been recovering steadily from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. That's according to President of the Jamaica Employees Federation, David Wan. He, however, pointed to several inefficiencies affecting the labor market, including the lack of digital skills training.
Workers need to be trained, upskilled in all digital tools for business, whether it's transaction processing, whether it's customer service, whether it's problem resolution, all the digital tools, our labor force needs to be trained and retrofitted to handle all this. Digital tools make enterprises resilient from all types of shocks. Plus, it makes business more efficient and boosts productivity.
In referencing the importation of electric vehicles, Mr. Wan says with the advancement of technology, preparation for jobs for the future is important.
A strategic thrust is needed to ensure that we have the supporting cast of the trained labor force to allow these new technologies to flourish in Jamaica. So we'll need retrofitting of the workforce to be competent as solar energy technicians, robotics technicians, electric vehicle technicians. So, these are necessary, and this is coming in the near future.
Another area of concern, the approximately 700,000 people outside the labor force. Mr. Wan believes the 50% pass rate in CXC examinations is responsible.
The Ministry of Education needs to devise a plan to lift the rate of this bar of passing 3 CXCs, which is what many employers require as a minimum. We need to raise that bar to 80 to 90%. It's going to take some time, but we need to get there. This has benefits to employers in the quality of staff they can utilize in their organizations.
Mr. Wan is appealing to the government to put measures in place to mitigate against the inefficiencies in the labor market.
The elements of the labor market inefficiencies need to be looked at in broad strategic fashion by the Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Education, HART, PIOJ, and I'm appealing for this to be done for the benefit of the workers and employers of the country.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
Jamaica has made a call for the international community to take urgent action to end plastic pollution. It comes from Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Matthew Samuda, who was speaking at the Stockholm 50 International meeting now on in Sweden.
Jamaica, like all others here, want a healthy planet. We have enhanced our NDCs and we have committed to a 28.5% reduction in our emissions by 2030. We are moving towards our 30-30 targets for protected landmass and sea, and we are also midway in a 3 million tree planting initiative, one for each citizen for our small island. We also wish to close in saying that we supported the decisions of UNIA 5.2. We ask that we move very quickly with our INC, moving towards a global treaty to end plastic pollution.
He asserted that the intended nationally determined contributions, INDC Global Treaty target, and other agreed targets are attainable, noting that Jamaica has already committed to playing its part in achieving the goals. However, he says larger member states and bodies need to play their part.
Must come from the multilateral process. It includes scaling up finance, it includes fixing the access issues, and it includes application harmonization amongst the donor agencies so that small island developing states can truly have a chance to access these funds for adaptation. It also means that we must explore the interlinkages and look for enhanced synergies in the implementation of the multilateral processes and indeed the conventions that we are all signatories to.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. The country is a step closer to the rolling out of the National Identification System, NIDs. According to Minister without portfolio in the Office of the Prime Minister, Floyd Green, the card production center is more than 90% ready. Mr. Green made the disclosure a short while ago at the Office of the Prime Minister.
I've heard we're about 97% towards the completion of our card production center. We've already interviewed and have people ready to be employed. We're about 90% towards the build-out of our software that will provide the back-end services for our national identification system. We expect to finish our first enrollment center in Kingston in August, and we expect to have another 4 in another couple months after that, as we will embark on our pilot in Kingston and St. Andrew.
Member of Parliament for Western St. Mary, Robert Montague, says interest is growing among air carriers who want to use the Ian Fleming International Airport as a hub. He says already the airport gets some 25 private flights monthly, while the schedule for international commercial flights is improving.
End of June, another commercial airline is going to fly in with scheduled flights inter-Caribbean, Mr. Bryson, from Turks and Caicos Islands. They are going to fly in on the 10th of June for scheduled flights. So they will be the first commercial airline to have scheduled flights into Ian Fleming. And then on the 16th of June, what's the boss's name? QCAS will be flying in from Fort Lauderdale to be the second commercial airline to have scheduled flights into Ian Fleming.
Mr. Montague says it doesn't stop there.
And I am positive that before the 5th of November, when American is coming, the big boy, other airlines are going to join the line. Because once American is coming, everybody is going to join the party. And the Airports Authority have been speaking to a number of airlines over the years. And the interest has now suddenly gone up. I know there's one out of Haiti. There's another one out of Fort Lauderdale and one out of the Bahamas. That the interest is there all of a sudden.
Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says he intends to put management systems in place before any more money is spent on the rehabilitation of heritage and community sites to ensure proper upkeep. He expressed concern that these venues often end up needing fresh restoration after a period of time.
We spent millions of dollars on heritage sites across Jamaica that go and ruin it. We spend millions of dollars on community centers and play fields across Jamaica, helping to enrich communities that when you pass there, they are in ruin. We've built many beach improvement facilities across Jamaica that when you go there months afterwards, it's again in disrepair. That has to stop.
Mr. Bartlett was speaking at the official launch of the restored Holland Bamboo Scenic Avenue in St. Elizabeth, which was renovated at a cost of $8.5 million. The restorative work began last September and was funded through the Tourism Enhancement Fund. And for the latest in the financial world, here is Codian Barrett with the Business Minute.
In the world of business, a meeting has been called for June 15 with creditors of Attraction Park Mystic Mountain Limited, which has been placed into bankruptcy. A notice from trustee Wilford Bangaloo says the meeting will be held virtually. In February, Mystic Mountain was certified bankrupt by the Office of the Supervisor of Insolvency. The majority of its creditors voted down a proposal denying the company time to repay its $1.3 billion debt to bondholder Sky High Holdings Limited. In business internationally, U.S. employers added more new jobs than expected in May, with payrolls rising by 390,000, according to new data. The figure beat economist forecast for a 325,000 rise in new roles through May's increase was the slowest for a year. The U.S. employment rate held at 3.6% for the third month in a row. The health of the job market in the world's largest economy is being closely watched as policymakers try to bring down fast rising prices. And coming up in the Business Review this Sunday, a promise to clients of altitude lash therapy, 2 hours, then waking up to a makeover. That's it for the Business Minute this week. I'm Codian Barrett.
And here is Sandy Williams with the latest developments overseas.
In regional news, Haiti has named a candidate for the position of Director of the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, to replace the Dominica-born Dr. Carissa Etienne, who has served 2 5-year terms. The Haitian candidate, Dr. Florence Dupaval Guillaume, a former acting prime minister and a former minister of public health and population, is among 6 candidates announced by the PAHO Executive Committee. The other candidates are from Brazil, Panama, Mexico, Colombia, and on the international scene. At least 4 people were killed and about 30 injured when a train derailed in Germany's southeastern state of Bavaria. The train, which was carrying many students, was heading to Munich when 3 carriages came off the tracks. Police say it is unclear what caused the accident. It was initially suggested that some 60 people have been injured, but a spokesperson from the German Federal Police said that figure referred to a number of passengers on the train. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy Williams.
And we head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your Midday Sports report.
Welcome back. It's now time for your Midday Sports, and I am Jermaine Brown. We bowl off with cricket. The Leeward Islands Hurricanes were 2 without loss in their first innings reply at lunch on day 3 of their rain-affected 5th-round regional 4-day match against the Jamaica Scorpions. This at the Brian Lara Cricket Stadium in Trinidad. Now, the entire second day of the encounter was lost to rain, and rain is also well underway once again. Now, on Wednesday's opening day, Paul Palmer Jr.'s 144 not out steered the Scorpions to 302 all out after they were reeling at 10 for 3. Second-placed Hurricanes, who are looking to win their first regional title in over 2 decades, had started the round just 1.6 points behind leaders and defending champions, the Barbados Pride. Now, Cricket West Indies have confirmed that Rovman Powell and Romario Shepherd will miss the ongoing one-day international series against the Netherlands due to visa delays. They travelled to London immediately following their participation in the Indian Premier League, as their visa interviews could not have taken place in India because of the IPL biosecure protocols. Despite having the interviews the day after their arrival, they are both still in London awaiting the appropriate visas to be able to travel to the Netherlands. Now, with the final match to be played at the VRA Cricket Ground on Saturday, Shepherd and Powell will now fly directly to Pakistan to join the squad for the 3-match ODI series. The West Indies have an unbeatable 2-0 lead following wins by 7 wickets on Tuesday and by 5 wickets on Thursday. The West Indies had 13 players available for the first 2 matches and will have the same squad for the final contest. The Windies squad will travel from Amsterdam to Pakistan on Sunday for matches at the Multan Cricket Stadium on June 8, 10 and 12. Let's head to the courts now, where the Boston Celtics overturned a 12-point deficit and beat the Golden State Warriors 120-108 in Game 1 of the NBA Finals on Thursday night. Steph Curry hit a game-high 34 points for the Warriors, who led 92-80 and had not lost in their 9 previous home games in this season's playoffs. But the Celtics hit 9 three-pointers in the final quarter, including Jaylen Brown scoring 10 points to spark wild celebrations with the win. Game 2 in the best-of-7 series takes place on Sunday in San Francisco. Meanwhile, former Reggae Boys assistant coach Miguel Coley is hoping to sign at least one Jamaican to his Salal SC club in Qatar. Coley, who has been in Jamaica for the last month, will be looking to help improve his team's 6th-place finish in the Qatar Stars League and wants to one day attract Jamaican talent with him at the club. He also says the development of local football needs to be the objective of all stakeholders. The former Jamaica College coach says it is difficult to say if the game has developed since he left in 2016, given the impact of COVID-19, but says there is some way to go to lift the standard of local football. Coley, who joined Salal in November last year, guided the club to the Qatar Reserve League title in March. Now, led by a double from Deshaun Drake's Calabar High blanked Bridgeport High 3-0 on Thursday afternoon to advance to the semi-finals of the Issa Urban Area Under-14 football competition. Drake's opened the scoring for Calabar in the 21st minute before Javel Watson extended their lead in the 23rd. Drake's would grab his second and Calabar's third in the 60th to cement their spot in the semi-finals. And that is the final whistle for your Midday Sports. And I am Jermaine Brown. Shane, it's back to you.
Thanks, Jermaine. And that's the Midday News. I'm Shane Masters. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of news, sports, and production teams, have a good afternoon.